Welcome to podcast number 15. I'm Kyle.
I'm Nick.
And it's like day 10 of the Kickstarter. 9?
Yeah, it's a little weird. I think it's day 9. Our campaign says we have 21 days left, but our days are measured by like 9 p.m. Pacific time. So once the clock strikes 9 p.m., that's the end of that day, because that's when our campaign ends, is 9 p.m. on March 8th or March 18th.
Gotcha. So
Kinda
based
weird.
off of 9 p.m. of March 18th.
Yeah.
And today being February 25th. How are we doing? How's the Kickstarter going?
It's going pretty dang well. We are currently sitting at 122,000. We have like somewhere in the neighborhood of like 1,300 backers, maybe 1,200. I don't know. And yeah, we are very close to unlocking our next stretch goal, which is 125K. That is the acceptance letter. Looks a lot like this. It'll look a little different, but ooh, that reminds me, I have to submit that stamp design. Anyway,
So you're assuming we're probably going to do it.
I am assuming we're gonna do it because we have 21 days left and we're like $3,000 away.
It's fair. But $3,000 is a lot of money.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, hey, it's entirely possible that we don't get there, but I'm going to prepare like we are. And who knows? Maybe I'll just make it anyway, even if we don't reach it.
It's true. It's funny.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. This is a complete random thought. We were talking about this yesterday. Like when someone gives you cash, it like completely reframes how much money something is.
Right.
Right. Like we have the plumber 40 story.
Yeah.
And like $40 is like a lot of money.
Mhm.
And it's like weird to hold it and
Yeah.
like to,
Someone you gave someone a journal yesterday, or a few journals.
yeah,
And they were like 4 or 5?
3.
Okay. And they paid you cash.
Yeah, he insisted on paying cash.
Right.
And he insisted on paying for him. He is someone who like I've gone to as like he's an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Asked you questions, a little bit of mentorship involved. So I wanted to give him our thing because I
Yeah.
wanted him to like that's like
Right.
a way of paying it forward. You
But
know?
he's like, here's just cash.
Just what he said was he said like, hey, like I've been in your shoes, like I've bootstrapped like my business. I know like every dollar matters. Like please take this money. And I was like, all right, I can't argue with that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's more inconvenient for us to deal with cash.
I mean, we'll use it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not going to be
Just
used.
like the plumber 40.
Yeah, but the $150, right? But I'm holding it, right? I'm holding the $150, and I'm like, geez, like this is a lot of money.
In
Like,
cash, right.
like this is the amount of money that I don't have in my wallet
Yeah.
because I wouldn't want to like either lose it or get robbed. Like that's the amount of money that is.
I remember saving up money when I was a kid to buy a Game Boy Color. Saving up like Tooth Fairy money and like mowing lawn and like doing chores around the house, you know. And I remember the first time I held $100. I almost said $1 million. First time I haven't done that yet. First time I held $100 in my hands, and I couldn't like believe it. Like didn't make it was like my brain couldn't count that high.
Yeah.
I wasn't a very bright kid, I guess, but it's weird because I still feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like holding $100 bill, even now, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, right. Like if someone came into our headquarters and gave us a briefcase full of $120,000,
Yeah,
we would lose our minds.
exactly. Yeah, if they're like, if Kickstarter, this is how they paid you. If they just roll up to your house and they're like, hey, here's your campaign money, and they just dropped it in a briefcase and it was
Yeah.
cash, it would be overwhelming. I feel like I have to call the FBI or something.
Seriously.
I don't know.
All that to be said, the weird tangent is all about the fact that like there are weird moments where you realize how supportive people are.
Yeah.
And it was a moment yesterday where I was like, holy cow, like people are coming out and they're giving us their hard-earned money for this thing that we make.
Mm.
And that's super like amazing. I just like I can't, I'm like so humbled.
It's easy to get numb to that.
Yeah.
Or to get, I mean, numb's not the right word, but it kind of becomes business as usual. It becomes the new normal.
Yeah.
Like I still get every notification from our Shopify store.
Mhm.
Like,
I do not.
yeah,
It would wake me up at night.
that's true. Yeah.
And
I'm a heavy sleeper.
Yeah, I'm a light sleeper. So I would like wake up at like 1 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, but it's weird because it's like, I don't even think about it. It just like shows up and it gives me some kind of indication of how sales are doing that day. But it's like, you know, someone buys a $50 journal and your phone notifies you, hey, someone just gave your business, $50. It's like people like that. I remember the first time that happened, and I like lost my mind. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe this is happening.
When we used to work together, we still work together, I guess. But when we used to work together at the same job and not
Right.
Heroes Journal, we would get a notification, and you and I, we sat like weirdly apart from each other. So we would like turn around and we'd like sneak. We'd sneak eye contact.
Yeah, that's right.
You
We give
know
a little wink or like a little head nod. We'd be in like a staff meeting because we're like we're in the same department.
Yeah.
And we get like a sale and we just be like, you know,
Yeah.
a little head nod.
Yeah,
That's so funny. Yeah.
I made more money during this meeting than I will get paid today at this job, which was like a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's not how it works, but
yeah, I mean,
I wish it was. I wish like all of the money just that you get in revenue just goes in your pocket. That'd be cool.
if it was cash, if someone walked up and just gave you cash, then maybe. But
imagine that, right? Imagine like there's no e-commerce like payment platforms, so people just like walked up to you and gave you money.
Right.
Like we're just sitting there in the meeting, and it's just a guy like knocks, comes in, just hands you $50 and then leaves, and everyone's like, "What the heck?" Like, I just bought my thing.
It's for a journal.
Yeah,
they're my car. But people used to do that.
It's
like
true.
for real. Like, I mean, not even that long ago.
It's true.
That's kind of how.
I don't think it would interrupt meetings though. I don't think it would interrupt people's meetings.
Well, no, but like think like if you're trying to hustle at work, you're like you're setting up a lunch appointment.
It's true.
Someone's coming to the back of your car, you're selling your thing, and they're paying you in cash. Probably.
That's how Nike started.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nike. So this is the real like grittiness of Nike, the story of Nike.
Did you read Shoe Dog? By the way?
I haven't read Shoe Dog. Okay. I want to. All right, we were listening to that. And
that's right. That's where I heard that. I was like, I need to read that book. That's right.
I read this. So I'm a big running nerd, and so there's a book called Bowerman and the Men of Oregon, right? So there's two parts of the story of Nike. One was, and this is actually a great entrepreneurial story, and it actually segues really into what I want to talk about today. So it's great that this came up. But so Bill Bowerman was the head track coach at the University of Oregon, and he used to make these shoes with out of a waffle iron.
Yeah, like the traction.
Yeah. So he would like make these shoes, and he would take measurements of people's feet, and he would make these shoes. And it wasn't like for a company. He just was like, these are better. Like, this is what I want my athletes to run. And then he had an athlete, Phil Knight, who ran at the University of Oregon and then went and got his MBA at Stanford. And Phil Knight, for whatever reason, was in Japan. And the predominant shoe at the time was Adidas. But in Japan, they had Asics Tigers.
Yeah.
It's like Onitsuka Tigers.
Yeah.
Right. So what Phil Knight did was he bought a bunch of Asics and sold them out of the trunk of his car at like running events.
Wow.
He called it Blue Ribbon Sports.
He just bought like like wholesale, or he just went
probably wholesale. So he set up a contact, or he didn't like have him in his backpack on the plane.
Got it.
Like he set up a wholesaler.
I see.
I'm assuming.
And then he would waffle iron.
No, so that he would sell ASIC shoes out of the back of his car.
Oh, okay. Without altering them or anything.
Without altering them.
Okay.
And then he met up with then he partnered with Bill Bowerman, and so they made the shoes, and then he sold the shoes.
I see.
Which made Nike, and Nike means like the goddess of victory and all this stuff. But it's this example of someone with an idea, a disruptive idea, right? And then you have another person who has expertise in the area of building shoes. Right. So you take both of those things, and I'm sure Bill Bowerman didn't make any of the wholesale shoe, like the shoes that were actually worn. They probably went to a manufacturer and like said, "This is what we want to make."
Yeah.
But it's just an example of like expertise paired with a disruptive idea is what entrepreneurship is.
Yeah.
Right? And the segue is that like as you grow, right? You and I are young people, especially like in the business world, right? This is our third job.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Fourth job. So therefore, like we have a lot of blind spots, and we need a lot of help, whether it be from technical expertise on how to do something, or it be from a philosophical idea. How do you why am I doing something, right?
Yeah.
And this is a long monologue, but I had a teacher in college. He was an educational psychology teacher, and he said, and I'll never forget this. He said, like, the most important thing you can do in life is find a mentor. He's like, the mentor can be a person who's actually alive. It could be a person who was once alive, but like left written material. It could be like, he didn't say this, but it works now in the more modern context. Like it could be someone on YouTube,
Yeah.
like someone that you can emulate and you
Right.
can learn and you respect, that can help give you vision. Like, so his was C.S. Lewis.
Right.
He had read every single C.S. Lewis book multiple times.
Yeah.
And he considered C.S. Lewis his mentor.
Interesting.
And we're kind of in we're in an interesting place because we're looking for mentors right now.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's come out of a couple places. I kind of want to hear your thought about like mentorship and where you look. And we kind of have a new man crush recently. I want you to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a challenge. Like, you know, one thing, I mean, you were talking about solving a problem, right? You were talking about like starting a business is something that you do because you want to see the world a little differently. And I think that that's one thing that makes the journal pure is like, I think that I don't know anyone in my life ever who's ever ran an e-commerce store ever. And so I knew when the idea came and it was like, we're going to do it this way. We're going to do a Kickstarter. Like I didn't know anyone that did on a Kickstarter. I didn't know anyone. Like I had people online that I like would watch tutorials of, and they talk about how to build a business. It was mostly drop shippers, to be honest. But I just like, I had this vision for this thing and I really wanted to see it like manifest in the world. And I think that, and the reason I say that like that's proof of it being pure is that I had no example to copy. Like I didn't have any real human being, and still 2-3 years into this, like there's no carbon copy. You know, there's no like, there's still no one in my circle that I can be like, how do I do this? How do I do this? Like, sure, yeah, there's a lot of information online, but one thing that like, anyway, you asked for my opinion on mentorship, and I think that we're still trying to find a mentor, and I think that we need one. We need one. The business has done really well, but like you said, like we don't know what we don't know. And you can do that for a while. You can bootstrap it. It's cute. But like, you know, as things grow and as things scale, there, like, you know, we talk about keeping promises. We talk about this responsibility of running a business. It becomes a huge responsibility. You're not just talking about like, oh, look at this thing I built, or look at how cute this journal is. You're talking about like people's hard-earned money and building like a meaningful, like great product and business. Like you just need wisdom. You need help. You need someone who's been there before. So I think that we're in need of a mentor. We're in need of like someone who can, you know, be like, here's what I've seen. Here's what like I would be cautious of. Here's what would help you a lot if you did this, if you did that. And it's hard to find those people. Yeah, because we're not really networking people either. I think that's another thing.
It's true.
We're not like, let's go to that luncheon and like hand out business cards to like other people.
Here's my thought though. I actually don't think very many people are naturally networky people. I think it takes a level of like stepping out of your comfort zone.
I think it totally does.
I would assume that is more like if we were to tell someone that like for example, it's kind of how you go with like a Myers-Briggs, right? Someone says like, I won't do that because I'm an INFJ. You're like,
I hate that.
The real thing is like no one really wants to do it. Like it's a little scary meeting new people. It's scary asking people for something.
Yeah.
And right, it's I think for me, and I would assume for you, like the part of it's like coming across disingenuous. Like I don't necessarily want to meet someone for the sake of them helping me.
Right.
I want to meet someone that I think is just I would want to have in my life, and I'd want to be around. And I think that could be misinterpreted with the classic term of networking.
Yeah. I think, well, I do think it's a skill. I think that, you know, like, it's funny. I think that it actually comes with people who move a lot, like who grew up like moving a lot and like had to change friend groups a lot. Cause you learn how to meet people and how to become someone's like friend. I think most of our friendships are like long standing, kind of built in, right? Like you meet someone in middle school, elementary school, and you become friends with them but actually, you know, that's a lot more organic than like, oh, I moved to like a new country or a new city and I don't know anyone. I just have to go be friendly. I have to like meet people, you know, we never really, you know, really had to do that.
Yeah. Aside from like maybe my 9 months in Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think we've had small versions of it.
Yeah.
But I would even say like networking is even more, to your point, it's even more like unnatural in a way because you're going somewhere with the intention. like when you move somewhere, you're moving somewhere, you're there, there's already people there. It's natural to become friends. But like when you go to like a networking event, it feels kind of forced almost. It's like a luncheon. It's like, hey guys, we're here to network. We're here to hang out. That's the goal. It's just to hang out. And it's just kind of can become so forceful that I think you're right. That relationship might feel forced, or like I might feel forced into like being a person that I might not actually be in reality. So,
yeah.
But I do think it's a skill. It's probably something that we are going to have to get good at some point.
Good thing is that we have a really great excuse right now.
COVID. I'm not bad at networking. It's just a global pandemic.
I don't want to die.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Oh, well, I'm going to sit in the hospital network? Can't do that. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
we're not good at it.
Yeah. Anyways, so in the COVID time though, I think we found a few people that we think are like really incredible.
Yeah. You want to talk about our recent man crush?
Our recent man crush.
Yeah.
So I'll give the background.
All right,
I'll paint the picture a little bit.
Okay. Paint it.
So in the last 3 months, we've been hyper aware of the fact that we are a D2C business.
Direct to consumer.
More so than we ever have been.
What's an example of another direct to consumer business?
Would be like Harry's.
Yeah. The shaving brand. Casper mattress brand. Yeah. We're not like a business to business brand. We're not like a,
we directly interact with our customers.
Yes. We're not selling to like Walmart and Target and then people come and buy. Like we don't do retail like that. So that's what direct to consumer means. And it's a little newer of a model because of the internet. So that's kind of the quick.
Yeah. And up until this point, we knew that we were direct to consumer, but it wasn't something that was like an identity piece, right? Yeah. It wasn't like, there are positives and negatives that are correlated to direct to consumer businesses. And with that, Nick got an invite from somewhere. I have no idea where he got the invite to Clubhouse.
It's John Sweet.
Oh, John Sweet.
John Sweet.
Yeah. So then I got the invite from Nick to go to Clubhouse.
Clubhouse is it's like a new, I don't know if I call it a social media app, but it's basically like think like chat rooms on the internet, but instead of typing, you're talking. So you go to like these rooms and people can listen in, but you have like a group of like 5 to like maybe 10 people who are talking about something.
And Nick found this room called Crowd House.
Yep.
Which is where entrepreneurs go, and they're usually on a platform called Republic, which is also a .co, by the way. That's a comment for you.
Okay.
we're the heroesjournal.co, and so I have a kinship with any other COs.
Yeah. I'm not heartbroken over a CO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's a platform that's very similar to Kickstarter, but instead of pre-ordering a product like Kickstarter, you're literally buying into a company, and there's a lot of nuances.
That's Republic.
Republic, yeah.
But what's Crowd House?
So I had to explain that first. So Crowd House is a place where companies that have campaigns live on Republic go to Crowd House and pitch, like a Shark Tank pitch, to these direct-to-consumer investors.
Right. And
you can listen in and kind of...
You can invest, too.
Yeah.
As an audience member.
It's true.
So, it's like a way scaled-down, audio-only Shark Tank episode with investors that aren't like Mark Cuban. They're like people that are more, I would say, minor. Well, they're not minor, but this like they're just not as well known. But they're specific to the direct-to-consumer space.
So then now, at this part of the story, enter Nick as the narrator and enter Man Crush.
Okay. I guess I'll take it from here. So, like I was kind of the only one that was hyped about Clubhouse for a while. I think Clubhouse is like taking off. It's amazing. And I really, it was my first like foray into this world. Because we never did any networking events, because we never talked to anyone where this is like what they live and breathe. It was my first time, like, just kind of being in an environment where I felt like people spoke the same language as me. You had these, entrepreneurs who had these like direct to consumer businesses who are really, really passionate about it, and they're crowdfunding technically, and they're like trying to convince these people that their idea is good. And I'm like, oh man, this has been my life for like the last 3 years. And so I remember listening to this guy pitch, and then there's probably like 5 or 6 different VCs there. Sharks, venture capitalists. And they all gave really good feedback. They ask, really pressing questions, what are your margins? What is your audience like? Why should we invest in you? All that stuff. At the end of Crowd House, they ask if you want to invest or not. So you have these investors and then you have the audience members. But as we kind of went through the different VCs, the last one was a guy named Michael Duda. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. I think it's Duda. And he was giving some feedback to an entrepreneur, and no one had invested in this person. In fact, I've never seen anyone get investment on Crowd House. Mm-hmm. But the way that Michael gave feedback to this guy really caught my attention. Like, I was at the gym working out, listening to this, kind of half listening to it. And it like stopped my workout because I was so drawn to the way that he cared about the business and cared about the brand and cared about this entrepreneur. And so yeah, he caught my attention that way. I stalked him a little bit. I listened to like a podcast, and then last Thursday, he did another Crowd House where Michael was on there and he was giving advice, and Kyle and I both listened in on that one. And that's where I think it was kind of like, man, this guy's great. Like, second time around, he's just as good. So he is part of a VC firm called Bullish.co. Another CO.
That's why I pointed out the Republic.
I see. Yeah. And so Michael Duda is one of the founding partners of that firm. So, when you hear the terms of VC and you hear like investment firm, it gets kind of scary. You don't hear a lot of good stories. Like, what you hear as an entrepreneur is like investors just want to take your money. They just want to like kind of like suck the life out of your brand. They're kind of like these cowards with money. But getting to like hear someone talk to an entrepreneur and like really like getting a sense of what they believe and like their heart and what they really care about, like really helped to, I guess, personalize or humanize rather, like a VC. And it wasn't that he was like some big bad wolf. He was just someone that cared about a brand and cared about a product. And it sounded a lot like the things we talk about. There was no talk about like 10xing your return or IPOing or any of like the investor terms. It was about like, how do we build a meaningful brand? How do we build a brand that like when people approach it, whether they buy something or not, when they brush shoulders with it, they feel like they can do anything or they feel like amazing. And so that kind of like language and that kind of philosophy really gelled with what I think we're trying to do. So we've been trying to get Michael's attention.
Yeah. We'll probably send him this podcast.
Yeah, we've been really trying to get Michael's attention, and I don't know if it'll work, but like we really want to talk with him, It's possible that we'd be, seeking like investment, but at the end of the day, I think we mostly just want to talk to Michael.
Yeah.
We're not like reaching out to like tons of different investment firms.
Yeah.
We just really like this one guy who literally happens to work at this VC firm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like, yeah. So,
so here's 2 things about the story that I think are really great.
Yeah.
So one of the kind stories that Michael Duda said to the guy, the other entrepreneur, told the story about Under Armour. So early on, had worked with Under Armour, and they were doing like some secret shopping. Mm-hmm. And this kid picked up an Under Armour sweatshirt and said like, I want this.
Like at a Sports Authority.
At a Sports Authority, yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Now we're just literally retelling the entire story.
No, that's a good story.
Yeah.
You gotta set the setting because everyone's been in a Sports Authority.
That's true. Well, I guess if you're 10 or younger, probably not.
Well, everyone's seen this scenario play out.
Yeah. You're right. So it could be a Target, it could be anything. It could be a Fred Meyer.
Yeah.
Kroger if you're on the East Coast. Anyways, the kid's like, I want this Under Armour hoodie. It's like $50. And the mom was like, what about this Russell Athletics hoodie? It's $25.
Yeah.
And the kid said, I want the Under Armour hoodie because in this hoodie, I can do anything. Right?
Yeah.
Something about Under Armour had resonated with that kid so much so that they believed like this piece of clothing will help me get to the moon.
Right.
Do anything.
Yeah.
And we're like 6 syllables away from that, from our dream. We want people to hold the hero's journal and be like, I can do anything.
Right. Yeah.
In the next 3 months, I'm a superhero. I can do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, he uses that story as an example of the difference between the best product, like, and the best brand.
Yeah, the rational and irrational parts of a brand. Yeah.
Because we were listening at the episode of Crowdhouse that we were listening to. The entrepreneurs were pitching like a men's polo shirt.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you ever been to any store ever, but there's a lot of polo shirts out there. It's a very like popular item to sell as far as clothing is concerned. And he was talking to them. And he was like, humans, like, Michael was talking to entrepreneurs. And he's like, humans think that they're rational. And sometimes they are with their purchasing decisions, but there's certain segments where they're completely irrational. And one of them is clothing, right? Like, people are weirdly brand loyal for no reason to different clothes. And what that really, boils down to is like, people are just irrational. There's no reason as to why someone would buy this shirt over that shirt. So he kind of was talking to them. He's like, you're pitching to me all the specs of your clothes, why they're the best. You have the best materials. You have a great price point, but I want to know why the irrational side of my brain would pick you. I want to know the brand side. Like, I want to know the reason I would go, and this, I can do anything. Not this Under Armour sweatshirt is more breathable and the material's better and like the hood has more space in it and
I don't have to iron it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's none of that. Who cares? Tell me why, like, my irrational brain wants to put on Under Armour and how it makes me feel when I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I think if you were to take a step back and you were to look at the Hero's Journal and what we do on a daily basis, right? We've talked about how Ryan does a lot of the artwork.
Yeah.
Right. Ryan does a lot, helps us with we work with Ryan a lot on the product development. But that's like not even a quarter of our time.
No.
Like, a lot of our time is evangelizing this idea that people can be the hero of their lives and that we can help you accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, if we're going back to like a few episodes ago about ethical lead gen.
Yeah.
It's how can we have paid products and free products that help people feel like they can conquer the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we were talking to I keep going back to the example. We're talking to the different scenario. Like, the kid hadn't worn the hoodie yet. He hadn't bought the sweatshirt. Like, it's one thing for a kid to, buy like a pair of Nikes and then like score 50 points in them and be like, these are my lucky shoes. I'm brand loyal to Nike. Like, it's because of the Nikes that I scored the 50 points. I'm a Nike guy now. It's like, it was before it was even purchased. It was this feeling that was like, performance aside, like, I believe that I can score 50 points in this Under Armour hoodie or whatever it is. That's the part that's really interesting to me. It's like the difference. It's like making the sale before it happens. And there's a lot of money and a lot of thought and time and branding that go into creating that consumer, like, psychological, response.
I'll give you a Kyle's example. I have a Nike tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
This tattoo came to being way before I ever bought my spikes, way before I ever raced my best race or did whatever. As a sophomore in high school, I learned about Steve Prefontaine and I watched all the movies. I read all the books about him.
Yeah.
I looked at all of his stats and I was like, this is like my hero in essence. Like, this is my idol. This is who I look towards. I'm like, I want to resemble this person. 2 years later, I get the spikes. I wear those spikes my whole career, and then now it's on my arm. I have a silhouette of the spike that I wore in high school and college on my arm because it's a representation of a time in my life where I had great purpose, and I had a reason, and I knew what I was doing, and how having purpose framed everything else in my life.
Yeah.
And it's not just a pair of shoes, right? That's everything around it. That's all of the stuff that goes into making me feel like if I wore these shoes, I could run super fast.
Yeah. Which is not true.
Yeah, right. It's the same like thing as when you're talking to like an 8-year-old,
right?
And they put on their Nikes and they're like, I'm super fast.
I can run so fast.
These are my fast shoes.
These light up shoes, like the light up shoes are definitely heavier than the regular shoes.
Yeah, but, man,
I can run so much faster.
Yeah, like that is that is something that I want the Hero's Journal to do.
Yeah,
I
me
want it to irrationally make you feel like you are capable of anything.
I've been obsessed with the thought recently. Like every time I walk into a Target, anytime I walk into a Walmart, I always go through the stationery section. And at every department store, I don't know if those are department stores, whatever you call them, big box maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
big
know.
box.
They all have a like stationery section. Sometimes it's 3 feet, of shelf space. Sometimes it's the entire shelf. But I always look at it, and I always think the same thing. This is lame, and it makes me really happy because like one thing that Michael does talk a lot about is Harry's, which is a shaving brand. They've been around since like 2010 or something like that. Similar to Dollar Shave Club, but they did this interesting foray like into Targets, and they were like, we're going to take over the retail experience and have that be our best marketing, because all that's available now is like Gillette, and it's like it's like the Mach Turbo twin jet engine 6 blades. It's like we're not going to do that. We're just going to have like affordable razors. We're going to like challenge the notion as to why they're so expensive. We're going to make a really positive like experience in the aisle, and like that's going to be that. And I always think like if we could embody like what Harry's did in the shaving aisle, in the stationery aisle, if we could take up 3, 4, 8 feet of like shelf space and have like an incredible experience where it's like, I would have no reason to look at any other journals. I would go there being like, oh man, I want a journal to like keep me organized, or maybe like I want to write my thoughts down because they keep them in the same place. But I'm like, oh, but check us out. Like, and even if you don't buy us, you have to check us out. And even if you end up with the other journal, you're still going to be thinking, they told me I could do anything. This journal just says, buy me. They said I can be a hero. I love digging in and trying to create that effect with anyone who walks down that aisle. It's really interesting to me.
I have 2 things. So in our creepy endeavor to learn more about Michael Duda.
By the way, we've never talked to him.
We never ever.
We're full on just being creepy right now.
Yeah, we're all in.
Yeah.
In this podcast, they talked about, and this is interesting, right? Because you kind of have to have a logical solution for an illogical or rational solution for irrational feelings.
Yeah.
So he was like, I was talking to Harry's, and Harry's was like, I think it's P&G is what the company's called or something like that. That owns
Procter & Gamble.
That owns Gillette.
Gillette, yeah.
So Gillette was like 12% of their product offering, but 34% of their profit.
Yeah.
Right, which means that they're making a killing on these razors.
Yes.
So that's a very rational reason. But the thing that got Michael on board was they said, I want to see P&G burn.
Yeah.
Right?
It was like the chip on the shoulder.
Right? That's the irrational part. It's like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Like there is this thing that's happening in the world that is wrong.
Yeah.
It should not be this way. We are going to take it down. And that was like, it's a rally cry.
Right.
And my second part is this. We make fun of this phrase all the time, but it's like I'm an X that just so happens to Y. Like
thanks, Simon
Domino's is like, I'm a software company that just so happens to sell pizza. It's like a meme at this point.
It's so silly.
But I've always been so interesting on a company being so sought after for these big box stores that you get to decide what department your product is in. And I would love to never even touch the stationery department.
Really?
Yeah, we're like, you walk into the video game section and there's like there's a display for the Hero's Journal.
Yeah.
And it's like, because like we don't associate ourselves with normal stationery, because stationery is like, it's boring, it's uninspired, and it doesn't tell you you're the hero. The only place in the store that we could find that you're a hero is the video game section.
Or like the book section maybe.
Yeah. It's like that was the only place where people were telling stories and where people were inspired about the things they were buying. So therefore, we don't even want to go near this stationery. And it's like that story right there is like, hey, why is this journal over by the Nintendo Switches?
Right.
It's like,
that's interesting.
And then you look us up on the internet and it's like, we have a little piece, like, you'll never find us.
You'll never find us
like
in the
Barnes
stationery
and Noble,
section.
Like Barnes and Noble, we're
look high and low. You'll never find us.
Like in Barnes and Noble, we're like in the nonfiction area, right? Like we're not in the state. We're not like
stationary planners. Journals. Yeah.
Interesting. It's like, that's not who we are. We don't care about like uninspired thoughts, right? We want you.
That's where the boring people shop.
Yeah,
we want to be in the young adult fiction section.
Yeah, we're here to inspire your life. We're not here to like collect dust.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that's like that was my thought when you were talking about the Harry's thing.
I'm still a fan of being in the stationery section.
Or we can bring inspiration to the stationery section. But I'm just saying, like, I think that's a part of the story, right? This part of the story is that you're not just a product people can say, but like you are visibly different.
Right.
Like you're waging war against this like current status quo of way things are.
Yeah.
Because the status quo right now tells you you're not a hero.
It's really interesting.
That's my passionate moment for the day.
That's great. Yeah, like it just kind of depends like where you think your customers are. And we don't know anything about positioning ourselves in retail correctly. But yeah, I guess we'll have to learn, especially if we talk to Michael.
Can we call him Mike now?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We're definitely not on a first name basis. Yeah. We're actually on a no name basis. He has no idea who we are.
The most that we have is a DM back that says something that's on their website.
It's true. Yeah, we are going to shoot him an email today, and hopefully he gets back to us. Yeah. So we'll see.
It's so weird. I mean,
trying to get a mentor.
The investment space is so catered towards software.
Yeah,
it's like software as a service. These like B2B. I was thinking about this last night, and it's not very well thought out. But maybe you'll be able to help me, and we'll be able to have an original thought here on the podcast that we never talked about.
Ooh.
I was thinking about why it matters to me to be a D2C company versus a B2B company. And I think because a D2C company has power to actually make change in the world where a B2B company does not.
Yeah.
Because this is the scenario that brought it home for me. Our company could, like I'm wearing a ShipStation hat right now. Am I? Yeah. I'm wearing my ShipStation hat. That is the software that we use to help ship us. And I think it's amazing. Yeah. I think it's incredible. It's made my life way better.
It's great.
And it does great work, right?
Yeah. Use code ShipStation. I'm just kidding. We're not sponsored.
But no matter how much I love ShipStation I will never be able to share that moment with any of my friends, maybe aside from Anthony.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember listening to Side Hustle School podcast, and they're like, use ShipStation, 10% off. I'm like, that sounds cool. I don't know what they even do.
Right.
Because they're B2B.
Because they're B2B. So even if they give you the perfect customer experience, it's everything you would ever dream of.
Yeah.
You can't share it with your friends and family.
Right.
Whereas when you're a D2C company, you're able to find something you like. You're like Crocs, for example.
Right.
I got Crocs, and then now there's like 6 pairs of Crocs in the house because I loved them, and I was able to share that experience with everyone around me.
Yeah.
Which means if
you validated them for the rest of us.
And if that company stands for the right thing, that means you're able to like proselytize a mission.
Yeah.
Like I'm able to say, hey guys, this company made me the hero of my life. And now more people are thinking of this like, oh wow, I can think of myself like that. You can never do that in a B2B space, and I think that's what makes B2C so special.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's really well said. Like, I think you're right. I mean, ShipStation solves a very specific problem that businesses have. But like we sell like a brand, and we sell a dream, and we sell an idea. We sell a journal, but like that's the other thing with like. Back to the like rational irrational part. ShipStation couldn't be more rational. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I have a shipping problem. I use ShipStation. It solves the problem. It's great. I love it. But it's like I need a polo shirt. But I hate Tommy Hilfiger and I hate, Ralph Lauren, and like I only like, this brand because of the way that their logo looks, or like what? Like how is that a basis to pick what you're gonna wear? Like, it makes no sense. We are way more. As you get closer to the consumer space, because we're in that consumer space, people just they're a lot more, I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because there's just way more options for like journals than there are for shipping softwares. But yeah, it's like, with the right partner and the right timing and the right moves, you're right. I think you can change the world in a much more real way, than like a B2B could ever. So yeah.
It's always interesting, right? Because you're a little kid, and you're like, I want to change the world, so I'm gonna be a doctor or a firefighter or these things. And though those are fantastic professions. I'm not like dunking on doctors and firefighters. It's just weird to think that like being a businessman, right?
An
entrepreneur is actually one of the ways to change the world.
Yeah.
Like better or worse, Mark Zuckerberg changed the world.
Yeah.
Like if his goal was to change the world, he did it.
He changed the world dramatically.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but he did it. Right.
Yeah.
And I hope that ours is to make a positive effect on the world. But yeah, it just entrepreneurship and like direct to consumer and like being the kind side of the internet genuinely gives you legs to like make meaningful change in the world in a way that you hope and dream to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if all we ever have is 25,000 customers, 25,000 people that buy an experience and use the journal, then like to me, like that is changing the world. Like it's a big enough group of people to me. Like if I was sitting in a stadium with all those people and I looked around and I was like, man, there's a lot of people in here. I would feel like I changed the world.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel like the world's a little different because we made this little journal.
Yeah.
I want to do a lot more than that. I want to rewrite the whole way people set goals. I think it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's entirely shame-based and ends up leaving you worse off a lot of times than better. Because I lived it. And so, yeah, that's like, I think the chip on our shoulder, right? Is kind of like, no, these people are profiting off of your ambition. They're not helping you become a better version of yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's like the chip on our shoulder, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to rewrite that part of the world if possible.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's do it, Michael.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in wherever you listen or watch this podcast. We got a little fiery today, and I think it's just like it goes to show there's passion behind what we do.
Yeah.
And it matters to us that we do it the right way.
Yeah, we really care about it a whole lot. And it's no other job I'd want to have because it's, I would trade working on the Heroes Journal 80 hours a week than working on anything else anywhere else for 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. And getting the notifications of people who have used the journal and are reviewing it, or people that can't wait to get their journal, people that are excited watching on Kickstarter with us. It's like nothing beats that. Nothing beats people caring about the thing you're doing. So yeah, we have you guys to thank, the heroes who watch and listen to this podcast. And we hope that you grow with us and want this thing to grow, want there to be more in the world. So yeah.
So if you want to follow along with us as we chase this passion and try to change the world, you can subscribe on YouTube. You can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yes.
We'd love a like on the video, but if not, that's okay.
Yeah. We also love to share our campaign, share the podcast or the talking head videos. We make a lot of content, and even just sharing it a lot of the times does more for us than you just like buying a journal. So, if you want to help out, we really appreciate that. Yeah. That's a form of helping big time. So.
It's true. And at the very least, send us your stories. We love it.
Yeah.
We got to read a story like a few weeks ago, and we hope to do more and more of reading people's stories. And I think we're going to hopefully in the future, we'll give a better way to tell those stories. But
yeah.
For right now, send us your stories. You can email it to us. You can leave it in the comments. You can send it to us in a Facebook message, an Instagram, literally anywhere that the Heroes Journal exists. You just plop it in. So
yeah, we're here to help the world tell better stories to itself.
It's true.
So
anyways, until next week, we'll see you then.
Thanks for listening.